Good evening and welcome to the Trading the Tech Show. My name is Derek with iLi Academy, and today is Wednesday, October 28th. So we had a very interesting day in the market today. Um, I did anticipate that we would have a down day on the Dow. We talked about that last night as we were looking at the futures, and we saw that the futures, I think last night, were down like in the 140s or so. And being over 100 in one direction or another, typically that's kind of telling you which way, traders are thinking about moving the market in the morning. Uh, and so as we progressed and as we had our daily market overview show this morning, we saw that the futures had fallen even further. It was like 400 and in the 440s or so, 450s down. But at the end of the day, today, we did actually fall off about 900. I think it was 943 points. So we're well below 26,000 after starting the week off above 20 at I think it was like 28 3,000 on the Dow. So our currency pairs, I want to look at the charts tonight and just kind of see what kind of impact this fall, because we fell almost 1,000 points today. Um, I want to see what kind of impact that's having. Now we did, so far right now the futures have recovered a little bit, so maybe traders are starting to think that there's some value in the market because we did sell off so hard today. That's very typical in this bull market that we've been in, for us to kind of rebound. It's just been, but we've had 4 consecutive days of down days on the Dow. I don't think that we've done that in a long time. Um, but this just occurred. So right now I'm looking at the future. The future is saying up 281 at this moment. So tomorrow, maybe they're looking at recovering some of the loss from today. That's been pretty much the pattern that we expect after a big down day. We tend to recover some of it back. Now, whatever happens during the middle of the day, whatever fundamental news kind of comes out, whatever shoe drops during the day can change that. And of course, it's still very early, as the contracts are collected at this point in time. So it's very early, but we're going to know, you know, later in the morning, like what's happening. So we'll take a look at it again on the daily market overview show here in just about 6 or 7 hours or so. We'll look again, but right now it's showing that there's probably going to be a little bit of a rebound. It's 281, so if that kind of holds out, I think that we may recover. We might have a nice retracement of at least some of that move. So that typically is going to play havoc with our currency trading. That's going to give us a lot of volatility, but that's really what traders want. We want volatility in the market because that's what gives us the opportunity to get some profit and get some pips. We definitely get some movement. Now, last night when we were looking at the charts, we definitely were consolidating a lot, just trading off to the right a lot. But today we did finally kind of break that ice and get some movement. It's Wednesday, so you got to think that traders want to kind of move the market a little bit, even though we're kind of in a holiday situation. We do have the holiday coming. We want to see, we want to know, what's the direction gonna be. We've got the elections coming, we got the holiday weekend, so we're really just kind of get an idea where traders' mindset is at right now. We've got stimulus off the table at this point. There's a lot kind of swirling and going on. So it's a great time to be in the market, a great time to actually learn from this situation and to gather some intel from the situation. It's an experience to have under your belt, because you get an election every 4 years. So this is something great because now we've got a real controversial election as well. So it's something that you can put in your pocket of experience and just say, hey, I've been through that as a trader. And it's not that maybe you're even going to find a pattern in it or anything like that. Maybe unless you really go back through the presidencies and kind of just discover what occurred during those times. But it's just something that you have as experience. So it's a good thing to be trading at this point in time, because there's a lot going on and a lot of things that are affecting the market right now. So I'm not one. I was listening to someone today, and just, you know, just a YouTuber who's I think he knows what he's doing. I think he's got a great little program that he's running, um, but it just seems like the emotion is definitely there. It's just the people are critical when you post things on YouTube or you post things online. Traders tend to be very, very critical of your work. Um, but the way that I look at it is like, I don't really need to be critical so much of another trader's work, or the way that they trade, or what their strategy is, or what it is that they're trying to accomplish. Because typically I don't know enough about what you're doing, or I don't study it so deeply, that I can say, okay, you should do this or you should do that. For me, I feel like if you've studied, your strategies, and you understand what it is that you're trying to accomplish, it's not for me to say whether or not your strategy is good, or whether it's bad, or whether you're successful or whether you're not, or how many pips you should get, or how much money you make. I don't care about any of that. The only thing I want is your strategy to work for you. Why would I care what goes in your pocket, and how you make your money? Doesn't matter to me. And there's a million ways to do this. A lot of Forex is viewing patterns in the market. And when you discover something that happens continuously, and something that maybe is going to give you opportunities every day or every week, or every couple of hours, depending on what it is that you're doing, if you find that pattern that tends to work for you, or something you see at that activity in the market that you see, and you can monetize that, turn that into pips gained, have at it. There's a million ways to do this. There's probably no wrong answers. You could probably take two traders, sit them down, and both of them look at the same exact chart on the same exact time frame, have them place an order in opposite directions, and both of you could make money. Now, when you make money might be different. Somebody might make money right away. Somebody might make money in a couple of days, maybe in a week. But you both could come to maybe a different conclusion just by looking at the charts. And so, no, it's no one's job to really tell you that you're wrong or right in your analysis of the chart, because we're probably all looking at different things, and we're looking for different things. Where we draw support and resistance on a daily chart may not be the same place we draw support and resistance on a 30-minute chart, or a 15-minute chart. It's not going to be in the same place normally. So we might have a different outlook and a different view. Maybe our view is a little more short term. Maybe our view is a little bit more long term. So I think I just really tried to stay away from the critical critiques of other traders' work. I want it to work for you, and I figure, if you're a good trader, or you're someone who's serious about trading, you're working on your skill, you're working on how to get there. So what really can be taught in the Forex market, especially, is the foundation. What are the pieces and parts that you need to put all of this together? Before you learn any type of strategy whatsoever, you need to have the foundation. What are the pieces that I'm working with? It's not any different than maybe restoring a classic car. You can't just go and say, okay, I've got a bunch of parts in my garage, and I'll just use whatever I have, from things that I've collected over the years, and I'll just put together a car. Because not everything's going to fit, not everything's going to be the right piece for the job that you need to do. Now, some people might be really good at kind of finagling it and making it work. But if you're really trying to restore maybe like a classic car to like its original state, it's going to take you some time to kind of go and get the right parts, the original parts. And, it might take some digging, and you might have to, find people that might have the body of the car or the shell of the car or the frame of the car. And you might need to find somebody who has the tires and rims or something. You might have to go through a big process to find all of the right parts for what you're trying to put together. So trading is that same way. Our foundation is just the right parts. So we need to know, okay, what are the parts that make up Forex trading? So you need to know things like margin, leverage. You need to know lot sizing. You need to know what a pip is. You need to know what the spread is. You need to know how to read maybe a candlestick, or you need to know that there are more types of charts other than candlesticks. Maybe candlesticks is not for you. Maybe you want to, do something else. Maybe point and figure charts are better for you. Maybe a line chart is good enough for you. It depends on how you want to visualize it. So all of those type things are important because those are the things that are common denominators amongst all traders. So I think that's the way I kind of break down the education of trading. So this is far from strategy or anything like that. The education of trading is, what does every single trader have in common? What are the things that are finite that cannot be extracted from it that you need to know that every single trader should know? That's the foundational education that you need. And I think a lot of people are skipping that part. And they're heading straight to strategy, and then they're arguing and having all this criticism and differences between themselves because they're trying to prove one thing is better than another. So it's not productive to engage in any of that. Trading is very personal. This is about what you want to do. What I do here on this show is I show you what strategies I might use to create a trade opportunity for myself. These are patterns that I see in the market. You might look at the chart and go, what in the world is he talking about? I see this. That's perfectly fine. I'm not going to tell you that your analysis of it is wrong. The only thing that I'm going to try to teach you and encourage you to do is to be consistent, to develop something that you can be consistent at, something that you can do over and over and over again to get the same result of putting pips in your pocket. And then how to kind of handle the mental aspects of it. So I'm just kind of giving you, when you see me do this, I do my analysis, I do my walkthroughs and things like that. The other thing I'm encouraging you to do is not to spend your whole life in front of the machine. There are people that I guess, I can't say they're wrong or right because this is what they're doing, but I don't want you to burn out on trading because it's just tiresome. Like I get tired now throughout the week. Like by about Thursday, you might even hear it in my voice during the shows. Like by about Thursday night, I'm tired, just because of, number one, because my schedule's not exactly set the way that I really should set it. I'm not sticking to a sleep schedule and things like that the way that I should, and I need to improve that. So those are things that I need to improve because and I'm changing my schedule as well because we just came out of the pandemic, from not doing a whole lot, not having a whole lot to do because there's nowhere to go. There's no stores open. There's nothing happening. You can't go to a restaurant. You can't really, I couldn't teach even my English students. The majority of those people, I go and see them in person. So I couldn't really do that anymore because everybody had fear of coronavirus and all that. And just trying to navigate that. So we kind of got out of our routine. I think that's good in a lot of ways because it bought us time. It's the one thing that we've not ever really had, right? I'll talk about that in a second, but I think it kind of took a lot of us out of our routines. If you were used to going to a 40-hour-a-week job, now all of a sudden you've got all this time on your hands. Now your schedule starts to change. You start to morph into something else. Your schedule morphs into something else, and so it's now I'm getting back into the swing of things. Maybe over the last couple of months, things are picking up. My students are picking up. On the English, teaching side. I've been, obviously added another show for this platform for my Forex business. adding new products for my Forex business. So I've got a lot of things that are kind of happening. I'm teaching my landlord, even I'm teaching him English because he operates a business. He operates several businesses. He's got several things, right? So, but he meets with a lot of tourists. And so he needs to have that skill because I'm helping him to make money that he may not be able to get if he can't communicate. So that's kind of a way that I'm giving back as well. So I'm creating those opportunities, and that's one of the reasons why I teach English here, because if you're isolated from the rest of the English speaking world, you're isolated from the money that exists in those areas. And I don't want that for the people here, because Brazil is an emerging economy, but they're never going to truly emerge until they can speak the language of money, which right now is English. Every other country, all the Asian countries, all of the European countries, a lot of the African countries, you can find some English. You're going to find English because they know that that's where the money is. But for some reason, Brazil has kind of been in a little bit of a bubble, just geographically. Number one, it's because there's not a lot of English speaking countries around. All of the other basically nations around speak Spanish. Argentina, Peru, Colombia, all of these all of these countries around Brazil speak Uruguay. All these people, they speak Spanish, so they're not getting a huge influx of English individuals. But being in a place like Rio, there's always going to be those English speaking tourists. And so the tourists come with money. When we go on vacation as Americans, we bring money. And and what Brazilians love more than anything is to make some money. They're hustlers, they're entrepreneurs, they're business people. They survive on the money they take in, and the dollar right now is high, so they need dollars. They need to be able to touch dollars. So I'm trying to teach them that and just connect them with that. And that's kind of one of my labors of love, trying to give back to that. So I have a little business with it. I get paid for that because it's my time. My time is important. You never give away your time. It's the most valuable thing you have, so you have to charge for your time, but not much. By American standards, it's very little, but for them it's a lot. For a lot of them, it's a huge amount. Some of them are unemployed at this point in time because of the pandemic, but they've stayed with me. So I do a donation class. Even I do an online donation class where I don't care if you have 5 reais. I don't care if you have 0 reais. If you can't afford it this week, you don't miss class. So I've kind of begun that and kind of maintained that throughout the pandemic, so that my students who couldn't afford to pay anymore, couldn't, just don't have it, they're not burdened with it. They're not burdened with trying to figure out how to pay or missing classes because they can't pay. I've opened that up for them so that they can have, opportunity to still learn. I'll take the hit on it. I can do Forex, I can do different things, but they need to continue to learn. We don't need to stop that. So I've got several students that, are a little more advanced. And so this class that we're doing is a little more advanced to try to help them professionally. A lot of what I talk about and I explain to them, and the words and things and the vocabulary I give them, is professional vocabulary. Bigger words that they're not going to learn from somebody who doesn't understand, not understand, but somebody who's not fluent in English, or doesn't understand the culture. So I can explain things in a different way for them. So it's good. I was going to come back to something else before, but I was talking about it being, the time that we gained through the pandemic is great. Like I said, time is your biggest asset. So how we utilize the time, even though we're in a situation where, we're kind of locked down a little bit, we got to stay in the house, we're quarantined a little bit, we could be using this time to better ourselves, using this time to learn about Forex, using this time to learn another language, using this time to do things that we never really had time to do before. So you can tell where a person's mindset is at by the things they have been doing during the quarantine and during the lockdowns. What are they really focusing on? Because the biggest thing people will tell you is, well, I don't have time to do that. I don't have time. Or, so it's like, well, what would you do if you did have the time? And then all of a sudden we were given the time, and people were not prepared. A lot of people were not prepared. Others were, though. Others were like, okay, if I, people that are working, maybe they're 9 to 5, or maybe they've got 2 jobs, and but then somewhere along in the background they're building a business, or they have a business idea, and they've been getting the logo done, taking a little money, getting the website, taking a little money, doing other things, and just slowly kind of building it. Now all of a sudden, now you've got that 40 hours a week free. Now all of a sudden you've got the ability to start thinking about these ideas, and you've got time. So the pandemic could be looked at as something that hurt us maybe a little bit financially, but it was extremely full of opportunity for us to have time to spend in our endeavors, time to develop the things that we want, that we want to create. So it was like almost a gift for a lot of people, because you think about it, there's a lot of people working 40, 50, 60 hours a week, and they couldn't get away from that. They could never get away from that to have time to do something different. And this opened up a lot of eyes. On my LinkedIn, I see a lot of people like, hey, I got laid off. I started my business. I was looking for jobs. I couldn't find anything, but it made me start my business. And now they're on the track of ownership instead of just participation. So it's changing the way people think. And so we can look at it in a negative light, or we can look at it in a positive light. So I think that this time frame that we're in right now is very, very important for a lot of us going forward into our futures. So even in the pandemic, I didn't have this business when the pandemic started. I mean, I always had it in my mind. It's something that I've kind of done before, but I'd gotten away from it. I just didn't take the time to kind of build it out, didn't really even just kind of think about it. But then when the pandemic hit, I was kind of looking, I'm like, okay, I'm home. I've got a lot of things that I can do. I did a lot of things. I revamped my book. I was doing some other things, but then someone contacted me on LinkedIn and just asked, was I doing any work in the Forex space? What are you doing? Are you doing any classes? Are you doing this? Because I remember you when you were teaching my dad. She came back to me, and so I had this whole conversation with her, and it just dawned on me that day. I was like, oh, oh yeah, what am I doing? Like, there's a whole market for the knowledge that I have here. Even though I was trading too, I was trading, but I just wasn't thinking about, okay, what can I share with other people? How can I share this with other people? I just wasn't thinking about it. I've always have trading accounts, and I'm doing other things with that. And I hadn't thought about even the auto trader for a long time. It's like, I have it, it's just something I have. I've had it for, well over 10 years, when I first designed it. So, it's just something I have. I have a lot of things like that. I was actually, building something out in the music space too, the producer review podcast. So I started building that out. I've kind of put that on hold, but I need to go back to that too. I just need to find a way to put that in my schedule as well.